All right, good afternoon again, everyone. Thank you again for joining early here. Just watching this attendee number increase a little bit further here and about to turn it over to our Chief of Licensing, Douglas Hawk here.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Douglas Hawk, Chief of Licensing here at the Medical Board. Thank you for joining us today to talk about the new initial physicians and surgeons license renewal requirements that became effective January 1st, 2025. I hope this presentation gives you an idea of what to expect when you're ready to renew your license for the first time and possibly the second. If there's anything we don't cover today, please feel free to contact the board or refer to the board's website. We go to the next slide. Let's review the physician and surgeon's license initial renewal requirements that became effective January 1st, 2022. To renew your license for the first time, your program must provide the board evidence of 36 months of board-approved postgraduate training credit. Effective January 1st, 2025, an additional option for renewal was established, which allows you to renew your license for the first time by providing the board evidence that you're currently enrolled in a California board-approved postgraduate training program at the time your license expires. To verify completion of your 36 months of board-approved training, the postgraduate training program must submit the initial license renewal verification of postgraduate training form. This form can only be completed by the program director or the DIO of the institution. The ILR form must be submitted directly from the postgraduate training program to the board by mail until March 1st, 2025, or through the Docs portal. After March 1st, 2025, you can only submit it through the Docs portal. The ILR form must be submitted prior to the expiration date of the year, prior to the expiration date of your license, with enough time to allow for the board to process the form. We recommend at least 30 days prior to expiration, or your license status will change to delinquent. It is recommended the ILR form be submitted as soon as the required training credits are obtained. If you have not completed 36 months of board-approved training at the time your license expires, you may still be eligible to renew your physician and surgeon's license. Effective January 1st, 2025, if you are currently in a board-approved postgraduate training program and have not completed the 36 months of postgraduate training at the time your license expires, you can renew your license if you're currently enrolled in a board-approved postgraduate training program in California. The board will need verification of your current enrollment in a California board-approved program prior to the expiration date of your license, or your license status will change to delinquent and practice will not be permitted. To verify current enrollment, the program must submit the ILR form signed by the current program director or DIO. The ILR form must be submitted directly from the postgraduate training program to the board. Again, by mail up to March 1st of this year and only through Docs, therefore afterwards. If your license was renewed based on your enrollment in a California board-approved program, then the program is required to provide evidence of 36 months of board-approved training prior to your second license renewal. The program can do this by submitting the ILR form. Again, this form can only be signed by the program director or the DIO and must be submitted prior to the expiration date of your license, or your license status will change to delinquent and practice is not permitted. The ILR form must be submitted directly from the postgraduate training program to the board through the Docs portal. For licensees who renew their license by providing evidence of enrollment in a board-approved postgraduate training program, if the licensee disenrolls from the training program, the program director or DIO must notify the board within 30 days. They would use the program status update change form. The PSU form must be submitted directly from the postgraduate training program to the board by mail. If you disenroll from your training program, do not provide verification of credit for 36 months of training after your initial license renewal, your license will be placed in delinquent status. Your license will remain in delinquent status until the board receives evidence of enrollment in a new board-approved training program or that you received credit for 36 months of board-approved postgraduate training. Just as a reminder, it is very important to keep your email address of record current and up to date. The board uses your email address on record to provide renewal reminders, CME audit notifications, and important information about your license. The board will no longer be mailing renewal notices starting with licenses that expire June 2025 and will transition to a completely paperless renewal process. You may update your email address of record at any time by logging into your Breeze account. We strongly suggest that you use your personal email address. It is best if you do not use your resident email address. You may forget to update your email address when you leave your program and will no longer receive important notifications from the board, which could subject your license to a citation and fine. Licensees are required to notify the board of any email change within 30 days. Your email address is not public information and will not be displayed on the board's website or released to the public. You can subscribe to the board's email alerts by simply providing your email address and specifying which list you would like to join. Subscriber lists receive information about upcoming board meetings and changes to laws and regulations that impact licensees. This is a very good way to keep up on the medical board news and updates. All right, that's our presentation. All this information is available on the board's website, so please visit the website and review the renewal information to get familiar with all licensing requirements. I have a team of experts here. We're here to answer any questions. I'd like to ask individuals to not discuss pending licensing applications or pending disciplinary actions. We cannot answer those questions about confidential information provided in a specific application or provide updates on the status of a specific application. While we will do our best to answer all of your questions, some specific scenarios may depend on multiple factors, and you may need to email the board separately so that we can accurately address your issue. All right, Sean, we're ready.
Thank you, Doug. Sorry, I had to take your slide down there for a second to turn on the hand raising feature, but everyone should now see that ability to raise their hand. If you want to go ahead and start queuing up, you can just do so by finding your name there in the little attendee list and pressing the little hand label next to it there. Go ahead and call on you in the order that we see it pop up. Let's give everyone a few seconds. All right, first up here we have Jan. Jan, you should be receiving a prompt on your end to unmute.
Apologize if you said at the beginning, I missed the first few minutes. Are these slides going to be available on the website?
Yes, they will. We're going to post the slides and we'll also post the recording of this presentation.
Excellent. Thank you.
Jan. Next up here we have Ryan. Ryan, you should be receiving a prompt on your end to unmute.
Also from Harvard, like Jan. I'm a residency program director. Historically, some of these licensure forms required wet signatures. Is there going to be a plan to allow this to all be fully transitioned to something like DocuSign, just because it would make it a lot easier for us administratively?
Hi, my name's Angela. I'm one of the licensing managers. To address your question, we already accept certain electronic signatures, which does include DocuSign. We have a third parties page on our website that goes over those acceptable electronic signature types. And those things that are submitted via docs do generally come with those electronic signatures, but definitely reference that website. We're also going through a refresh project with our docs registrations that would allow us to increase the amounts of electronic signature types we can accept via that platform. So you should be getting some more information about that as well.
Thank you, Angela. Next up here we have Tyler. Tyler, you should be receiving a prompt on your end.
I just wanted to confirm because the past couple months, based on what we saw on the Form ILR that was introduced, that those needed to be mailed in. It looks like now, based on this presentation, those can be submitted via docs. Can you confirm that?
Sure, Tyler. So there are updates that have occurred recently. In the past, our ILR form did have to only come via mail. We have now had an upgrade to our doc systems that allow us to accept this form for licensees. So you can submit via the docs portal now.
Hi, my name is Kenny. I'm also a manager here with the Medical Board Licensing Unit, and I wanted to confirm, as Doug mentioned earlier, that through March 1st, the board will.
Kenny, we
Oh, can you cut off?
audio.
You're right. We
I
cut
can
off.
tell you what Kenny was going to
Yeah,
say. He was going to say that, yeah, starting March 1st, you can only submit the ILR form through docs. Currently, we're only accepting it through mail up until the rest of this month.
Great. I actually have a quick follow-up on that too. So if it's being submitted via docs, does that mean that we can use DocuSign for the signatures on those form ILRs that are being submitted electronically?
DocuSign is an accepted third-party signature, electronic signature we accept, so yes.
Thanks, Taylor. Did that answer all your questions? Oh, yeah, he lowered his hand. Thank you, Tyler. Looks like Assis. You should be receiving a prompt there, Aaron. Hope I got that right.
Just so from what I'm understanding is that the programs submit the ILR directly. I'm, in the process of renewing my license. How would I know when the ILR has been received by you guys and the program has sent it? I've already spoken to them. They said they will, but just so I have peace of mind that you guys have received it.
Kenny, did you want to take that? Oh, you can't. You can't talk. I forgot. I will take that. So when we receive the ILR, we do process it, and I believe an email is sent to confirm receipt. Is that? Can you give a thumbs up, Kenny, if that's correct? Or can you put it in the chat? So you also can go in and check your breeze for updates as soon as we receive that form and it's processed. If you have met all the other licensing renewal requirements, you will actually see your license renew. It takes about 24 hours after receipt of that for it to show live for you.
But for the license to renew itself, we have to submit payment as well, right? So there's two
Correct.
separate. So I'd have to know that the ILR has been received and have a green light to go ahead and renew, correct?
So again, you would need to do your portion of the renewal requirements, which could be payments, could be attesting to completing your CMEs. And then if the ILR is the last thing that's received, once we get that within 24 hours, it will go live. Your license will renew and will show renewed on all platforms of our website, including in the Breeze system for you as well.
Got it. So just to recap, so I can go ahead and just submit my payment on the link that I received from you guys, and then that's just pending ILR receipt. And then once that's received, you guys will just go ahead and update it, correct?
Correct.
Cool. And
And
you guys
we
will
do
email.
recommend.
Mhm.
Sorry, I was going to say we do recommend you take action on the items that you can, so that when it's at the stage where we're waiting for the ILR, it's a very quick process to get that in the system and active for you.
Cool, cool. And then the email of receipt will be sent to me or the program or both?
That would come to you.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much.
And yeah, shameless plug for keeping your email address up to date, as Doug mentioned earlier too. That email address notification that you will receive will be to the email address that you have on your license in Breeze. So again, all the more reason to keep that email address up to date for us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tyler's hand's still up. Tyler, trying you one more time to make sure we answered all your follow-up questions.
So sorry, did not realize my hand was still up. That answered all my questions.
All right, no worries. Thank you. Next up here we have Roxanne. Roxanne, you should be receiving a prompt on your end.
Hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Okay. I would like, as a coordinator, a little bit more clarification because there seems to be a lot of redundancy in the forms. Do we need to submit a form saying that a resident is currently enrolled if we've already submitted a form and their status hasn't changed in the last 2 years. And if we submit an ILR, do we still need to submit a PTA&B? Like, this is all,
Sure, Roxanne.
I think we need an outline, because I don't think there's a duplication here.
Yeah. And Roxanne, I actually do outreach as well. That could be something helpful that we can do for your program to go over the entire process, which would include this initial licensing. But for today, regarding this initial licensing process, it's specific for people who have already been licensed. And we created the ILR form for that purpose. So the PTA, PTB form that you're questioning the need for is only for application now. So for renewal processes, ILR would be the only form that you would need to fill out. If previously you had provided evidence of the enrollment, we do need confirmation that the enrollment is still active and to check on, potential completion dates. So if the renewal is going through the new pathway that we just shared that became active in 2025, which means they're reached their initial renewal and they're renewing because of a continuation in a program, we do still need an ILR form even if enrollment had previously been indicated. And that's just to
Okay, so we don't need
affirm
to,
the information.
so we don't need to do another enrollment like current training, but with the PTA, if they're in our program for 5 or 6 years and they are renewing, then the PTAB is not necessary. We just need the ILR.
Correct. PTAB would only be for a license application. ILR will be what we use for our renewals.
Okay, so they only need that when they're transferring from a training license to a full PNS. We do the PTA&B.
No, so yes, sorry, I should have listened to your question before I answered. Yes, you are correct. If they were transitioning from a training license to a PNS license, our physicians and surgeons, we would require the PTA, PTB at that time because that's a license application.
Now, if they've completed 3 years of training at the time they're transitioning, you need the PTA and PTB. Do we still need to do the ILR?
No, so for clarification, the two pathways, the one established in 2022 that created the initial renewal requirement of proving the completion of 36 months, and the new pathway, which allows you to renew by showing you are currently enrolled, are only for people who had not shown evidence of already receiving 36 months when they were applying for license. If we already received evidence of that, it will not be part of the initial renewal requirement. It will already have reflected as being met by us. So when you get your renewal information, you won't see it as part of the requirements.
Okay, I think it would be really great if you guys could create a flow chart.
Okay, that's great. Feedback, like I said, I do the
Rather,
outreaches,
yeah,
and that would be a really good tool that I could work on. So thanks for
yeah,
that
rather than
feedback.
multiple pages and lots of instructions, a simple flow chart would probably be the best for all the different programs and coordinators because we all have different training lengths, some 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
Got it. Thanks for that feedback.
Kenny, I heard you for like a quick second and it looked like it cut out there again. Say one more thing, Kenny. Sorry. No. Sorry, I'll have to help you out with that later. I apologize. Next up here we have Falaringse. You should be receiving a prompt on that end. Hope I got that name close.
Could you hear me?
We can. Please go ahead.
Okay. So I am actually going to finish like my 36 months of residency soon. I think I got an email from the board that reminds me that I should start like thinking about submitting. So it sounds like I like the program could only fill out that form that confirms I've completed 36 months of training after I graduate. So could I submit like earlier like than that? Because I know like the board can take a while. for example, I think my license expires in August. Like, could I submit like the renewal as soon as February, and then my program to get the process started, and my program submits a form like at the end of the 36 like months of residency, or I could only submit the renewal form at the 36 months?
So for renewals, there are pieces that you can complete yourself, and you're welcome to do that well in advance of the renewal in anticipation. And that could be like paying the renewal fees. And if you have completed your continuous medical education requirements, you could also attest to those in advance. As for the form that shows that you completed the 36 months, we have a grace period that we can accept those forms 30 days prior to the anticipation date of completion of those credits. So for example, if you are set to receive, complete the 36 months on July 31st, 2025, you can actually ask your program to submit that ILL form on your behalf 30 days prior to that completion date, and we allow that.
I see. And then how long will it typically take for the license like application to renew? I asked because there was like a long delay for the PTA to physician and surgeon license, and I think some of us, we also like need our license to accept our jobs. So I was wondering, is it a little faster with this like renewal?
Yeah, our renewals, we always anticipate the impact on that license in your career. So we do process those as quickly as we can with the anticipation of getting it completed prior to your renewal. Regardless of when we get those things, you won't see your renewal occur until your license expires. So like at the term of one, you'll see it switch over to your new and updated expiration date.
Oh, I see. But will we get a confirmation email to say like, oh, we've received everything and we anticipate you will be like approved for renewal prior to that license expiration?
I can't hear you. I could see you talking. Did you want to type it in the chat and I'll share what it is you're saying?
Sorry, could you hear me now or still?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was speaking to my coworker, Kenny. He's having some mic issues. But yes, you should get confirmation that you have completed the renewal requirements. You can always check Breeze to see if there's anything still showing as outstanding needed for that renewal as well.
I see. So just to make sure I'm hearing correct. So like once everything is accepted, then like that pretty much means that I should be set to renew. I shouldn't receive another email that says, "Oh, like you will be renewed."
So at this time, we're working on an automated generated email that will come to you once you meet all the renewal requirements. So at this time, the best course of action would be to actually log in to your Breeze and check there to see if anything is showing as outstanding, or we do have a inbox that you can utilize to request an update. It is sorry, I'm going to read it to you guys, but it is available on our website as well. But it's PS renewal questions at mbc.ca.gov, and you can send inquiries there.
Okay, understood. So pretty much it'll just show up on the Breeze that says like approved for renewal, and that's how you know like everything is there, and then like it'll just switch over automatically when it expires.
Correct. And you will get a notification if you still have outstanding items.
Okay, understood. So I could get started anytime, but my program can't submit that form until like as early as 1 month prior to completing the 36 months.
Correct. Just to be clear, it's 30 days. Just because some days have 31 days in it, I just want to make it clear it's 30 days.
Okay, 30 days. Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Awesome.
clarifying.
No problem.
Thank you very much. And that email address again is PS like physician surgeon renewal questions at mbc.ca.gov. No period or anything there in that name. So next up here we have Robin. Robin, you should be receiving that prompt. Good afternoon, Robin. Are you there?
I'm here. Are you there?
We can hear you. Yeah, please go ahead.
I've got two questions actually. The ILR request form, when it's sent to the trainee, letting them know that their license is up for renewal, does that include the ILR request as well for those where it's applicable, as opposed to the request being sent to someone whose license doesn't require the ILR?
Can you repeat that? I want to make sure I understood your question.
Okay, so you've got renewals that require an ILR, and you've got renewals that don't require an ILR. Okay.
Got it.
If they do require an ILR, is that information included in the notification that the trainee gets?
Correct. Yes. And it will be omitted on those who don't have to meet that requirement. Say they met it during licensing initially, we got evidence of it already. It would not be part of that renewal requirements. If it is something they need to still meet, it would be part of it.
You guys are so clever.
We try. We're working it out.
My
Thanks,
other question is a docs question. Is it appropriate to ask a docs question on this platform?
I'm okay with it if everybody else is good.
So we're getting notifications that the admins have to re-register their docs. Do they have to be signed again as well, or can I just send a list to Rhonda saying these people are still active? Please don't shut them off.
So we would need a re-signature. It is a new attestation. It's part of what I kind of referenced earlier in the question regarding what electronic signatures are acceptable. This re-registration project has a new attestation language that allows us to accept a lot more electronic document signature types. So it would be something that we need to have you re-sign.
So it's because of a change in the way that Docs is using signatures. That's the reason for the re-registration.
Correct. It's going to make it a lot more friendly use.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That I can live with that. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem, Robin. Anytime.
Thank you, Robin. Back here on mute there. Before I call on Colleen here next, should be receiving that prompt. A few call-in only users, if you called in on only a phone line, you're trying to figure out how to raise your hand, you press *3 in order to toggle raising your hand there if you have any questions on those call-in only lines. Thank you, Colleen. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Few questions. If you started the ILR or you submitted an ILR prior to January 2025, what is the timeline that the applicant should have heard from the, or should be hearing from the board, that it's okay for them to make payment and that their application is not missing any other documents or steps?
So I believe that they will start getting notifications that they can renew 180 days prior to the renewal is when it starts communicating with the licensee. I'm hoping to get some confirmation in my chat that that's the correct timeline on renewals. And then they subsequently will get continuous excuse me, they will continuously get some additional follow-up about the renewal, but the first communication that we send out about their renewal would be 180 days before the license expires.
Okay, I may need to go. This might be more specific than a webinar. So I'll move on. Another question, when you were saying that either the PD or DIO can confirm, can you give an example of when a DIO would confirm?
It's just one of the, sure, it would be at the discretion of your program if that's something delegated to the DIO. It's something that is always an option from us here at the board to accept their signature as an authorized signatory.
Okay.
So it's not one's not preferenced over the others, just the two parties that we can accept automatically. They're both authorized signatures, and it would be at your program's discretion on who would be best to handle that.
Okay, I'm sure they would love the institutional level, but probably institutional, like at the program level.
Yeah, yeah.
Then one other thing, if at some point someone's expiration date was pushed forward, I think 90 days, they had an expiration, they got a letter saying you need the ILR, and they on the website it now looks like the expiration date's been pushed forward.
That sounds pretty unique. I've not heard anything about that. I would recommend to send a question to our licensing.questions so we can look into this, the specifics of what might be going on.
Okay.
Angela, that might be the ones where there's 60 days, the ones that you were prior to 2024. So that might be the extra 60 days. Maybe she thinks it's 90, but it's actually 60.
Okay, the 60 days.
Yeah,
that's possible.
Yeah. Again, we can look into the specifics of that person's situation and make sure that's what it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Very much. Next up here, we have Dr. Carrie Bacon should be receiving that prompt.
Hi, thank you for this webinar. Quick question. So I'm a program director, and with all the changes with PTL and licensing, my question is, I noticed, and I very likely must have missed a notification, but PTOs now seem to be good for longer, and I know that I don't know if so I have a 3-year program. So many of my residents' PTLs are good for their 3 years of training. And the full license applications, is it just like an option that they can now apply for them after, if they're U.S. grads, 12 months after they complete, but they're good and on their PTL, so it expires? I just wanted to confirm that.
Sure. Yeah, you are correct. Our PTLs now have a standard of 36 months for issuance. Any party that becomes qualified to apply for a PNS, physicians and surgeons license while holding a PTL is absolutely welcome to do so at that time of qualification. So for your example, if they were a US grad and they obtained 12 months, they can choose to apply for their physicians and surgeons license, or they do have the option to remain under the PTL license while they continue with your program. And if you're interested in getting some more details about the licensing process and the ins and outs, we do offer outreach, myself and my team. So you can reach out to licensing.questions if that's something you're interested in. And we'd love to schedule something and go over the whole flow with you.
Yeah, thank you. I have one additional question about docs. Is the process still that you can upload only when there is an active application?
No, now you can also upload when they are a licensee that has a renewal requirement of that ILR form. So they can now be, docs can now be utilized to submit that form to us as well.
Because in my workflow for my graduates, I was hoping just to standardize the process of doing that for my graduates. So I shouldn't have a problem being able to upload that form so it's in there for them when they need it.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up here, we have Dr. Ryan Pedigo, it looks like.
Yeah, thanks so much. I have, I guess, 2 questions. The first question is regarding the new mechanism on the ILR where you can just say that they're currently enrolled at the time of license expiration. If we do that on the ILR, do we just leave the months of credit blank and just say that they'll be in a training program? And if so, how far in advance can that be done? Because I'm in a 4-year training program. So during the 4th year, all my residents will be enrolled in a program. And it would be nice if I could just batch at the beginning of the academic year all my PGY4s saying, yes, they're enrolled. I'll notify you if anyone disenrolls. That way we don't have to do it piecemeal for all of our trainings.
So the ILR form now has the option to actually put the attendance dates for the enrollment that with your program. And that's what we would want to see filled out in place of the credits. So yes, you would use your, sorry, not use your, leave the credits portion blank because you're not attesting to that for the purpose of the renewal. You're attesting to them attending your program. We can accept those ILRs as long as it's within 180 days of the renewal.
So perfect. That's great. So basically at the beginning of the academic year, I'm just going to batch submit all of my PGY4s using DocuSign, upload to Docs, and then not worry about it anymore.
Yes,
Okay.
and then if they were to disenroll, you would advise us via the PSU form.
Perfect. Will do. And the kind of secondary question, so myself, as many of those people on this call for whatever reason, are from Harbor UCLA Medical Center. And previously we were afforded expedited application and licensure process, but apparently that was no longer the case, even though we serve like a very marginalized patient population. So I guess I was wondering from our standpoint, from an institutional standpoint, I guess how that's determined and how we can advocate for reconsideration to be institution that's qualified for priority
Sure.
review and expedited application.
The board does use the medically underserved area data that is provided by Medicare. So we utilize their surveys based on, you know, geographic regions to determine where they may have gaps. So it's all we utilize that tool. So I can't tell you exactly how they would reconsider you. That's where I would kind of start checking into their surveys and if they have some sort of process in which you can speak to them more about that. So I'm sorry, I don't have a ton of information. I see a few people typing, so my colleagues may have a little bit more information than me on that. But we do utilize that to determine. There's a map available on their website that you can go in and see. You can type in your locations where your residents or your fellowships participants are performing duties at, and you can see, you know, if they are showing up as medically underserved based on their requirements.
Great. That's super helpful to know who we need to advocate for and that it's not you. So thanks so much.
No problem.
All right, Catherine, were you gonna add something there? Or
Oh, just wanted to point out that we don't expedite renewals. And so hopefully that last question was regarding an initial application question.
Right.
Thanks, Catherine. That's a good clarification.
Sarah, you should be receiving a prompt on your end there.
Hi, I just
Sarah,
have one. Can you hear me?
Cutting in and out a little bit, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just one specific question. Just as a trainee, I see we need 50 CME hours. Does our training and residency count towards that, those 50 CME hours, or do we have to do those on our own?
Yes, it actually does count towards that. And I can get you information if you want to send an email to licensing.questions@nbc.ca.gov. I can give you that exact amount of hours that it goes towards. I might have the answer before the end of this call, and I'll announce it as soon as I locate it.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sarah, it's like we've maybe reached some people that didn't put their hands down yet here. So Jan, I think you asked a question earlier, but do you have a follow-up question? Should be receiving that prompt on your end.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Angela, for clarifying the PTA and B is now only for the initial application. I get that. And the ILR is for the renewals. Historically, when my trainees were graduating at the end of their third year, we just used to send the PTA and Bs. Can I now just send the IRL, or do they have to have a pending renewal that's launched within 180 days of their expiration?
You are welcome to upload that. It will be processed based on renewal date, I believe is what Kenny said. If they don't have an open, I'm sorry, it gets processed on date ordered received. And so that means it would just be attached and ready for them when they start the renewal.
So when I'm logging into the docs, I don't have to find a pending open renewal for them.
You would search for a licensee.
Okay.
Instead of an application.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then that would allow you to upload it. You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Jan. Next up here, we have McCatson. Should be receiving that prompt there.
For a trainee that has already a physician and surgeon license and will be renewing, and he took, for example, paternity leave for a month, he doesn't meet the 36 months, but is program specific, has met our requirement. Will I have to attach a letter of explanation saying why the 36 months are not met?
So just want to make sure I'm understanding. When you fill out the form, you would say the amount of credits granted are 35, but from your program's perspective, he has met the requirements and would not need to make up that additional 1 month. So would be 1 month shy of the 36 months that the board would be looking for. Am I understanding your question or your scenario?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yes, we would ask you to indicate with the letter to give us that additional information so we have an understanding of what's going on and what your program has decided. So you can include it when you upload the ILR so that we have that letter available.
Okay, perfect.
I just wanted to interject real quick on that question regarding CME. So residents and fellows are allowed 6 hours of CME for each month of postgraduate training or clinical fellowship in a program accredited by the Accreditation Council for Graduate Medical Education. So it's 6 hours of CME for each month of training is allowed towards the 50 hours of CME. Thanks.
You got it. Next up here, we have Sonia. Sonia, you should be receiving that prompt on your end.
Sorry. Hi. Just a quick question regarding the IRL. I understand that it's mainly used, at least from my perspective as a fellowship coordinator, for individuals who are renewing their PS license. Does it have to be completed again afterwards, or is it only for that first initial renewal of their license?
So that's sometimes it's based on some things. So sorry for this. So if you are using the ILR to show that 36 months have been completed, it's a one and done. You would only supply that at the first initial renewal. If you are using it to extend the renewal period beyond the first one, basically I'm sorry, I think I made that a mistake. I'm going to rewind what I'm saying and start this over. If you use the ILR to attest that they are in an approved ACGME recognized California program for their initial renewal requirement, you would have to resubmit an additional ILR once they reach the 36 months, and that would be required to be submitted prior to the second renewal. So one and done if the first time you submit it with the initial renewal is to show evidence they got 36 months. That's the only time you would have to send the ILR. If you're using the ILR under the new pathway that's been established as of January 1st, 2025, I'm sorry, Yeah, we're in 2025. That sounds so weird when I said it. Sorry. To show that they can meet the initial renewal requirements by being in a program working towards the credit, you would still have an obligation to submit a second one upon completing that 36 months, and it would be needed to be submitted before the second renewal or by the second renewal.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks for letting me work through that.
And this might be too general or broad, but from the perspective of resident trainees and they have their current PTL, based on the questions and the content that has just been answered previously, it seems that the IRL would be used if, for example, a resident trainee goes on a leave, extends it, which would require their 36 PTL license to be renewed. In that kind of scenario, you would use the IRL to basically just renew it, or is that correct? Is that mindset correct?
Unfortunately, that's not correct. Our PTLs are not something that can be renewed. They are a one-time issue. So we do not have an option of renewing our PTLs. It has 36 months. And then at the end of that 36 months, there would not be an option to extend or renew that. They would need to transition to a physician's and surgeon's license to allow the continuation of clinical practice with programs.
Okay, so just do the normal transition.
Just do the normal transition application would be the pathway forward for them. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Sonia. And lower your hand there. Next up, and actually last in the queue, so if you do have a question, please go ahead and raise your hand. Calling only lines, you can press *6 to do that. But next up here, we have HJ. Should be receiving that prompt there on your end.
So for initial renewing of the PNS, how do I upload? How soon can I upload the ILR form?
So the ILR form can be submitted as soon as the 36 months credit is reached. The program would be who needs to submit that on behalf of the licensee, and they can submit it through our docs portal now, which is what I would recommend. Very limited window, only through March 1st would we accept it via mail as well.
So if my license doesn't expire till August of 2025, can they still submit it now?
Yes.
Okay. And then how do I reach my residency program director to get this ILR form submitted?
I would look online at your school to see what available contacts you have to reach out to them to initiate that. Worst case scenario, most of the time, if you contact the GME office, they can direct you.
Okay, so I don't have to do anything with ILR form because I'm looking at the form. It says the applicant information. Do I need to fill out any of that?
That's at your program's discretion. Some programs prefer that that's filled out and then provide it to them. Some don't require that. So I would reach out to them and again, initiate the contact to see what they need to complete that on your behalf.
And then to get my renewing, what's the processing time right now?
To my understanding, we are current on our ILR forms. There's no backlog on that, and there's no backlog on renewing.
Okay, and then for my next renewal is a second time renewing PNS. Do I need to go through this again?
No, this would only be needed for you if you're showing that you meet the 36 months on this first initial renewal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next up here we have Jennifer Wilson. Jennifer, you should be receiving that prompt. Anyone else has any additional questions, please be sure to raise your hand. Sorry, Jennifer, go ahead.
That's okay. I know historically the PTO needed to be renewed, by the 36 months. But last year I had some PTLs that were automatically extended by the medical board. So I wasn't sure, do I still abide by the dates that I show for my residents? Like, for instance, I have 2 residents that are going to be, their 36 months will be this coming June, but their PTLs show expiration date. One is expiring in October of 2025 and one is November of 2025. And
Sure,
I just
Jennifer.
want to be, sorry, I just want to be clear that do I still abide by what those expiration dates say, or do I need to, in my brain, say, no, they're really expiring in June?
Sure. So what you experienced, we had a law change that impacted our PTLs. We used to have to calculate the expiration dates for our PTLs based on enrollment dates and other factors. But we had a law change go into effect that changed the expiration to a blanket 36-month period. So for that reason, people who had their PTLs issued for less than 36 months did see an adjustment on their expiration dates. So for the scenario you're talking about, you would have people with new expiration dates. Those expiration dates are correct. Their PTLs will remain active through that period of time, and you're welcome to utilize those as the timeline to submit and transition to their PNS license.
Okay, I really appreciate that. That was on my mind because I wanted to make sure that I do this right. That I don't want a resident practicing without a license. So I appreciate the confirmation.
Absolutely. You're so very welcome.
Okay, Angela. Oh, sorry, Jennifer. I accidentally clicked you on mute there, but you can go ahead and ignore that. At that time, I don't see any additional requests in queue. So if you guys would like to make any closing comments before we end the webinar.
I'll just thank everybody for coming. Appreciate the interest.
All right. Well, thank you all. Oh, go ahead, Catherine.
Oh, I was just going to again say that we do, for anybody here who's a representative of a program, we do have outreach options. We can coordinate and schedule time to present remotely or in person on the licensing process and our app requirements. If that's something you're interested in, please feel free to reach out to us via the licensing.questions email, and we would be happy to coordinate with you if you'd like to have a little bit more information on that.
All right, great. And we will be working to get these slides and this recording posted, hopefully sometime early next week for you guys to review and share with everyone else that may have not been able to attend. So we'll send a blast out to all of the registered users, at least with that information when it's posted. So thank you again very much. Hope everyone has a great afternoon. Take care.
Thanks, Sean.